right, greetings. It's episode 25, and my name is Miss Heard with Miss Heard Song Lyrics. And we're going to be talking about our first Miss Heard lyrics from the girl group, Spice Girls. And the Miss Heard lyric is from the song Wannabe. The lyric is, if you want to be my lover, you got to start watching Friends. That's the Miss Heard. And the correct lyrics are, if you want to be my lover, you got to get with my friends. And this is a great misheard lyric because it's a perfect connection. Way back in episode 4, I had talked about a famous misheard lyric regarding the Hold Me Closer Tony Danza misheard lyric with the song, of course, by Bernie Taupin and Elton John, or Sir Elton John. And that came from a 1996 Friends episode with Phoebe starting that misheard song phenomenon. And so let's talk about now with the connection of Friends to Wannabe, which is a debut single by, again, what I said, the English girl group called the Spice Girls. I remember they exploded in the mid to late 90s. It was actually, the song was written and composed by the group members in collaboration by a gentleman by the name of Matt Rowe and Richard Biff Stannard during the group's first professional song writing session. It was also produced by both gentlemen by the name of Rowe and Stannard for the group's debut album that was released, wow, back in November of 1996. So 24 years this November. So time is flying. So let's talk about the background of this song and misheard lyric. Now, the song was written, composed, and recorded very quickly, but the result was considered by their label at the time to be very lackluster and was sent to a gentleman by the name of Dave Way to mix it. The group was not pleased with the result, and the recording was mixed again, this time by a gentleman by the name of Mark Spike Stent. If you don't remember, here's the song. Now, Wannabe is an up tempo dance pop song which features Mel B and Jerry Holloway rapping. I forgot about the rap. And Mel B is the Spice Girl that is Scary Spice. And what it's about is the lyrics essentially address, from listening to it, a value of female friendship, empowerment, just having a heterosexual bond, becoming an iconic symbol of female empowerment and the most emblematic song of the girls or the group's girl power philosophy. So, although there were some mixed reviews, according to some written articles about this throughout the internet, the song won for Best British Written Single at the 1997 Ivor Novello Awards and also won a British Single of the Year at the 1997 Brit Awards. So it did really well. And I remember Wannabe, it was heavily promoted by the group. And I remember the music video, it was directed by a gentleman by the name of Johan Kamitz. And it also became a big success on the British cable network, The Box, which we don't have here, obviously, in the States, which sparked press interest regarding the group. Responding to the wave of public interest in the group, Virgin released the song as the group's debut single in June of 1996, well ahead of the planned release date of the Spice album, which came out, I think, in September, is what I said. And then Wannabe, the song itself, topped the UK singles charts for 7 weeks and received a double platinum certification by the BPI, which stands for the British Phonographic Industry. The song was released in the United States in January of 1997. That's how I remember it, and it topped the Billboard Hot 100 for 4 weeks. The fun fact about that is that song "Wannabe" by the Spice Girls is the only number one single in the U.S. I thought all of the other ones were number ones, but that's the only one. And then by the end of 1996, "Wannabe" had topped the charts in 22 nations. That's amazing. And by March of 1997, this number had climbed to 37 nations, so it just kept rising. And again, like I said earlier, Wannabe became the best selling single by a girl group in the world with 1,385,211 copies sold in the United Kingdom by 2015. And then they sold 2.9 million roughly in the US around 2014. So roughly over 7 million copies were sold by the end of 1997. I just can't imagine. So let's talk about how these wonderful ladies of the Spice Girls were formed. Okay, so in March of 1994, a father and son duo by the name of Bob, and I think the name is Chris Herbert, together with a financier by the name of Schick Murphy, working under the business name of Heart Management, decided to put an advertisement in the stage, which asks the question looking for, are you street smart, extrovert, ambitious, able to sing and dance? After receiving hundreds of replies of like-minded women that said, like, yeah, I can do all of that, the management had narrowed their search down to a group of five at that time girls. One was Victoria Adams, which later became the well-known Posh Spice and then married David Beckham, international soccer star. Melanie Brown, or Mel Brown, who became Scary Spice. Melanie Chisholm, or Mel C, is also another Mel, just like me. She became Sporty Spice. Jerry Holloway, and then a gal by the name of Michelle Stevenson. And the group moved to a house in what they were called Maidenhead, don't know where that is in England, and received the name Touch. So that's what they were first called. And then eventually, that Michelle Stevenson, who we've not heard about, was eventually fired because she lacked the drive of the other group members. And that's when they replaced Michelle Stevenson with Baby Smice, which is Emma Bunton because she was the youngest of the whole group. And I forgot to tell you that again, Jerry Holloway's Ginger Spice. There you go. And in November, the now group now had called themselves From Touch to Spice. Persuaded to work with their managers to set up some kind of showcase is what they call it, to show off their wares in front of industry writers, producers, and any advertising and A&R men at the Nomis Studios in Shepherd's Bush, London. And then producer Richard Stannard at the studio for a meeting with pop star Jason Donovan, I guess who was big then, attended the showcase after hearing Brown as she went charging across the corridor. So I can only imagine Mel B and just going for it. This is what Stannard says, quote unquote, how he recalled. Imagine this in a British accent. More than anything, they just made me laugh. I couldn't believe I'd walked into the situation. You didn't care if they were in time with the dancers or dance steps or whether one was overweight or one wasn't good as the others. It was something more. It just made you feel happy, like great pop records. So that's how he felt when he saw the five young ladies in front of him. Apparently, Stannard stayed behind after the showcase to talk to the girls, and he reported to his songwriter partner Matt Rowe, that we heard earlier, that he had found the pop group of their dreams, and boy was he right. Chris Herbert booked the group's first professional songwriting session with the producers at the Strong Room in Curtain Road in East London in January of 1995. So now we're getting to the mid 90s. And Rowe recalls feeling similar to what Stannard said. He goes, I love them immediately. So there was that immediate love for these ladies. He had said they were like no one I'd met before. Really, the session was productive. Both Stannard and Rao discussed the songwriting process with the group and talked about what their group wanted to do on the record. In her autobiography, apparently, Mel Brown, or Scary Spice, recalls that the duo instinctively understood their point of view and knew how to incorporate the spirit of the five loud girls into great pop music. So, writing an inspiration for Wannabe. This is again the first song the Spice Girls wrote with Stannard and Rowe. Actually, the first song the Spice Girls wrote with Stannard and Rowe was called Feed Your Love. It's a more slow and soulful song that was recorded and mastered at the for the group's debut album. Although the song was not used, that's why it didn't sound familiar to me. And it was considered too rude for the target audience. So I don't know if it was just too sophisticated or not sophisticated, but that's the wording they used, was too rude. Then the group next proposed to write a track with an up-tempo rhythm. Rowe set up a drum loop on his drum machine, apparently an MPC 3000 for some of you drum machine nerds. It's faster than made Sandra remember the scene when John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John performed the famous "You're the One That I Want" ooh, 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 in Greece. So Stannard commented that the only pre-planned concept for the song was that it should represent the essence of what these five ladies were. And then the five ladies added their own touches to the song. And per Rowe, this is what he recalls, quote unquote, they made all these different bits up, not thinking in terms of verse, chorus, bridge, or what was going to go where, just coming up with these sections of chanting, rapping, singing, which was recorded all higgledy-piggledy. I love that word, higgledy-piggledy. And then we just sewed it together. I love that, sewed it together. It was rather the way we've been working on the dance remixes and we've been doing before, kind of a cute and paste method. So this is what Rowe recalls when they created Wannabe. And then, ironically and amazingly, which seems really fast, Wannabe was completed in 30 minutes. mainly because the group had written composed parts of the song beforehand, so that helped on time in what Mel Brown, Mel Brown or Scary Spice describes as a sudden creative frenzy. And then during the session, Brown and Button, aka Baby Spice, came up with the idea of including a rap near the end of the song. And at this point, the group got very motivated and incorporated the word ziggy ziggy za into the lyrics. And that's the funniest word. Every time I see that, I laugh. While most of the other songs on the Spice album required 2 or 3 days of studio time, the recording of it was also really fast. It was less than an hour. Apparently, how they worked it is the solo parts were divided between Brown, Button, Chisholm, and Holloway. So, AKA Scary, Baby, actually, yeah, Scary, Baby, Sporty, and Ginger Spice. And then, I guess, of course, Posh Spice, aka Victoria Adams, missed most of the writing session and communicated with the rest of the group on her mobile phone, which I can only imagine in the 90s. Was it a flip phone then? The Razor? But either way, she was able to at least be in contact with them. And then later on, the group eventually parted with Heart Management in March of 1995 because of their frustration with the management's company and willingness to listen to their visions and ideas. So I think they listened to them on this Wannabe, but I think there were other opportunities that they felt like they weren't listened to. And this is where it gets interesting because then they meet with artist manager Simon Fuller. Why does that name ring a bell? And other than there's 50 million Englishmen named Simon, Simon Fuller signed him on with his famous 19 Entertainment, which, of course, if you've seen that logo many times, it is of the American Idol production company. So that's what Simon Fuller gets into the picture with the Spice Girls. And for some, Wannabe was either a hit or miss, love or hate. It really is. When I read up on info on this song and about the Spice Girls, there's no in between. Either love it or hate it. And per Jerry Holloway, or AK Ginger Spice, she said, we felt, well, if nobody likes it, then we have got other songs up our sleeves, but that was the one we wanted to release. And I'm glad they went with what their gut. Always trust your gut because they were right with it. So after signing the group, Virgin Records launched a major campaign for their debut song to promote them as a new high-profile act. So there was, of course, a lot of indecision of what song should they release as their first song, being the label. And of course, the group, led by Scary Spice and Ginger Spice, were adamant that we want our debut song to be "Wannabe." And I think probably because it's one that they all did together. It was done quickly. It must have felt good in their bellies that, hey, we need to start with that. And they felt that it was a great introduction of all their different personalities and the girl power statement, which that's how I remember the Spice Girls. And of course, the Virgin's executives believe that the first single should have been "Wannabe." They felt they wanted to start with "Say You'll Be There," which is a good song too, which they considered a much cooler track, or "Love Thing." And then at the beginning of 1996, the impasse between the group and their record label about the release of the single was temporarily resolved. So in March, Simon Fuller then announced that he agreed with Virgin that the "Wannabe" should not be the first single. So he disagreed with the Spice Girls, that the label wanted a song that appealed to the mainstream market and nothing considered too radical. They didn't want to, make any waves. However, Hollywell, aka Ginger Spice, was shocked and furious. So this is where the redhead comes in. And she told Fuller, quote unquote, "It's not negotiable as far as we're concerned." Or let me try an English accent. "It's not negotiable for what as far as we're concerned. Wannabe is going to be our first single." And so Fuller and the executives at Virgin relented, and the song was chosen as their first single. So they got their wish. And of course, it triggered the Spice Girl launch with the Wannabe music video in May of 1996. And then when Wannabe was released in the UK of July 8th of 1996 in two versions. The one version was in CD format and the other version in cassette single. The single that I was talking about. So they wanted to make sure they were in two versions at that time. So if you still had a cassette tape on your tape deck or in your car, you could still listen to it. Or if you're one of the fancy folks that had a CD player, you could listen to it that way. And lo and behold, the song was ranked at number 33 in VH1's 100 Greatest Songs of the 1990s. Even some present day critics, however, mostly say positive. Of course, looking back at it, they love the voices, the personality, the charisma, the what they say bouncy pop like "Wannabe" with its ridiculous zigga zigga hook into what they call the pure pop guilty pleasure, which I do love that guilty pleasure. And then, as part of Virgin's strategy to make the group an international act, Wannabe was also released in Japan and Southeast Asia 2 weeks before its British release. So they're trying to gain momentum. And then Wannabe debuted on the UK single chart at number 3, 6 days after its physical release, and climbed to number 1 the next week. And I bet you Halliwell and Mel B were just happy to see that because they stuck with their guns. It spent 7 weeks at the top. The song, the second longest stay by an all-female group at the time, only behind Shakespeare Sisters' Stay. Okay, with 18 weeks in the top 40 and 26 weeks, wow, in the top 75. It became the second biggest selling single of the year. That's a lot of S's. It became the second biggest selling single of the year, and as of November 2012, has sold over 1.38 million copies. The biggest selling single by a pop female group in UK. So still selling, even up through 2012. Let's talk about that video, right? Okay. Now, do you guys remember the video? Because I had to watch it the other day, and once I saw it, I'm like, oh, I remember this video. So it featured all 5 of the Spice Girls just running around as a group, singing, dancing, creating mischief in a eccentric bohemian party. Don't we all do that in life? Yes. Figuratively, you know. Okay, I digress. Among their antics is Chisholm's back handspring. Oh, that's Sporty Spice. That's why she has to show off her sportiness on one of the tables. And because the video needed to be taken in one shot, which is amazing when you think about that, the group rehearsed the routine several times through the night. So this is how committed they were in their craft. That's why they got rid of that other gal earlier, whatever her name was, Michelle Stevenson, because if she was on it, she would have probably been not into that taping or rehearsing the routine through the night, while a Steadicam operator followed them. And then about the experience, Ginger Spice, aka Hollywell, wrote, the video I remember as being very chaotic and cold. It wasn't very controlled. We didn't want it to be. We wanted the camera to capture the madness of the Spice Girls, which it did. Please watch it. It's on Google, it's on YouTube, any form you see it. Although the Virgin executives were horrified with the final result. It wasn't probably what they expected as this clean, very, of the time, in the 90s, very, very rehearsed and what have you. So they also were horrified with the final result because it was cold. I guess the temperature was cold. It showed itself in various different ways, and apparently one of the executives by the name of Ashley Newton, I don't know if it's a male or female, indicated the video was later banned in some parts of Asia because of Brown's erect nipples. That's how cold it was. So, additionally, the lighting was considered too dark and gloomy at the time, and the best takes showed the girls bumping with the furniture and looking behind them. Virgin was concerned that old people, okay, appeared on the video. The part when they jump up on the table and Hollywell's showgirl outfit would be considered too threatening by music channels. I mean, this is the late 90s, mid to late 90s, and they're worried at that time. Wow. And then Virgin immediately opened discussions about a reshoot of the video and creating an alternative one for the US, but the group refused. So again, here are the 5 ladies are like, I know, we're good with it. And the video was sent for trial airing in its original form. Well, guess what? It did well, right? So in the awards in 2015, Billboard included the video for Wannabe in their list of the top 10 most iconic girl group music videos of all time, noting they were basically unknown to U.S. audience when the video for a debut single Wannabe, a righteous one-shot stroll from the girls gleefully messing up some posh UK soiree, premiered. But by the end of the 4-minute clip, we knew absolutely everything we need to know about the Spice Girls. So that was their brand in a sense. Fun, crazy, chaotic. You don't know what you're gonna expect. And one of the things I remember, and I think it was Ginger Spice, aka Halliwell, that said this quote. But a famous quote I had heard was when some producer or some MC asked, "How would you explain Spice Girl in a line?" And her quote was, and I love this: "It's like getting a kiss and a kick in the crotch at the same time." I would like that to be my tagline for Miss Heard, where whenever you meet me, it's like getting a kiss from me and a kick in the crotch. Gotta love that. So again, still to this day, I hear it in many karaoke bars, and I laugh every time they get to that zig a zig za. But again, the correct lyric is, "If you want to be my lover, you got to get with my friends." Not, "You got to start watching Friends." But although, for some, You gotta like Friends. If you don't like the show Friends from the early 90s, it's a deal breaker. And many people loved it so much they actually did covers. So one of the famous covers that came out of it was performed by many different actors. One in 2015 when they revived The Muppet Show, which didn't do so well, unfortunately. The actor Ed Helms of The Office sang this song with the Muppets in the fourth episode of the first season of the Muppets TV series that they brought back. It was also performed, I didn't know this, I'll have to look this back, by Peter Griffin of Family Guy episode called The New Adventures of Old Tom. So it's still in the pop culture kind of world that people still remember it. And so if you haven't seen the video, watch it, look it up, and just enjoy it. So thank you again for joining me. If you have some great comments and suggestions for future shows, please send it to Missheard, MISSHEARD, songs at gmail.com, or comment with all our social media sites. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. My God, we're on Instagram. And let us know. And don't forget, if you find us or you have us tracked through iTunes, please send a wonderful, review, because that's how we get up in the ranking and people know more people know about us. So we would appreciate that. So enjoy your day, and zig zig zag.